1. The challenge of uncertainty. Life often places us in situations of total uncertainty. How many times have you found yourself at a crossroads, not knowing which way to go? Your heart racing, your mind overwhelmed with thoughts, and the feeling of being lost, as if the future were completely wiped out before you. This is a universal feeling, one that everyone faces at some point. The pain of doubt, insecurity, the feeling of having no control. You may even feel like you're trapped in a maze with no way out, no map, no clear answer. Now, think about it for a moment. It's not hard to see that life, with its ups and downs, seems to challenge us at every turn. And worse, is that often, when we need clarity the most, that's when God is silent, leaving us asking, "Why am I going through this?" Or, "Where is God in this moment?" This is the reality for many. Uncertainty brings with it the feeling of being alone, not knowing where to go. And in the middle of all this chaos, the words of Jesus echo, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." Proverbs 3 verse 5. This verse may seem simple, but it is a deep invitation to let go and trust in something greater. To trust in God, even when we cannot see the way ahead. The solution does not lie in understanding what is happening or having all the answers, but in learning to trust. Trusting God doesn't mean we will always understand His reasons or plans for our lives. It means accepting what we cannot control and allowing God to guide us, even when we can't see the path ahead. And make no mistake, trusting God doesn't mean a life without challenges or difficulties. On the contrary, it's often those very challenges that teach us to grow, to have faith, and to depend on Him more deeply. When you feel lost and everything is dark, remember, God never leaves us without direction. He is with you, even in moments of silence. And the beautiful part is that with every step of faith, with every prayer, with every moment you choose to trust, something grand happens. God begins to illuminate your path as you take the first step, and then the next, and so on. The challenge of uncertainty is, in fact, an opportunity to strengthen our faith and learn to trust more fully in God. And this trust is what will turn the fear of uncertainty into a journey of faith and growth. Are you ready to trust? 2. God's purpose in our lives. When we look at the adversities of life, an inevitable question arises: what is the purpose of this? It's easy to feel like we're just wandering aimlessly, without a clear objective, especially when the path ahead is cloudy. But the truth is that each of us has a divine purpose, and it is woven into every step of our journey, even if we don't see it right away. God didn't create us by accident. Each of us has a specific plan, laid out by Him, even before we were born. Have you ever felt small in the grandness of the universe, with so many questions and few answers? Often, the feeling of insignificance takes over our hearts. But look at what the Bible teaches us. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. This promise is not just a vague statement. It's a guarantee that even when we don't understand why something is happening, God is working in our lives. God's purpose in our lives is not something distant or unreachable. He gives us signs, guides us, and shows us small paths that, one day, will reveal themselves as pieces of a great puzzle. But there's something important we need to understand. Trusting in God's purpose doesn't mean having everything figured out immediately. Sometimes, the very process of seeking and trusting is what transforms us. It seems difficult, right? In moments of frustration or pain, it's hard to imagine that there's a bigger purpose. But, if we look at the lives of great biblical figures like Joseph, we see that his suffering and uncertainties were part of a larger plan. When he was unjustly imprisoned, in a situation that seemed to have no way out, God was preparing something grand for him. And in the end, Joseph was able to see how everything fit into God's purpose to save many lives. Genesis 50 verse 20. Now, take a moment and reflect. Where are you right now? What is challenging you? You may not see the immediate solution, but know that even the difficulties are part of your purpose. God is in control. He doesn't put us in situations without a reason. He wants to shape our character, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for something greater. Sometimes, the greatest test of trust is not waiting for God to show us the whole path at once, but believing that He will guide us, even when the steps ahead are hard to see. Are you ready to trust God's purpose, even when you can't see the whole plan? The way may not be clear now, but by trusting, you'll see that every step taken in faith will perfectly align with God's divine purpose for your life. 3. The silence of God and the test of faith. Have you ever gone through times when you prayed and prayed, but it seemed like God was silent? Maybe you asked for answers, for signs, for direction, but nothing seemed to come. The silence of God is one of the biggest challenges for those seeking a deeper connection with Him. But, paradoxically, the silence of God can be one of the most powerful ways He works in our lives. Imagine for a moment being in a dark place, not knowing where to go, seeing nothing ahead of you, but still trusting that someone is there guiding you. The silence of God can feel like this. Sometimes, it's as if He steps away from us, leaving us with unanswered questions and the feeling that we are alone. But it's in that silence that our faith is tested the most. Do we continue trusting God, even when we don't hear His clear voice? Do we believe in His love, even when we don't see immediate results? The Bible is full of examples of times when God remained silent. When the people of Israel were in the desert, facing hardships, they cried out to God, but it seemed like He was silent. They wondered, "God, where is your help?" But God's silence wasn't the absence of His presence. In fact, it was an opportunity for them to grow, to deepen their faith, and to learn to trust Him, even without understanding the circumstances. One of the greatest examples of this faith test is in the story of Job. He lost everything: his possessions, his children, his health. Even so, God remained silent for much of his suffering. Job questioned, cried, but remained faithful. And in the end, when God finally spoke to him, Job was not only restored but his faith was strengthened. He learned that, even in God's silence, He was always present, caring for him. This kind of silence is not punishment, but an opportunity. It teaches us to wait, to trust without rushing to see answers, and to understand that true faith doesn't depend only on signs or quick responses, but on continuous trust in God, even when life feels like a great mystery. Perhaps you're feeling just like this now, as if God has been silent regarding your requests. Maybe you're in a season of waiting, unsure of what to do next. But it's in this moment that your faith is tested and purified. Trusting God, even in silence, is one of the greatest signs of a mature faith. Are you willing to wait in silence and trust God, even without hearing immediate answers? The test of faith is an invitation to trust that He is working in you, even when we cannot see or understand. And in the end, just like Job, your faith will be stronger, deeper, and closer to God than ever before. 4. How to build trust when the path is unclear. The greatest challenge when the path ahead is hidden is not fear, but the lack of trust. Uncertainty about the future can make us feel like we're walking on a road with no direction, not knowing where we're going. And it is in this moment of disorientation that trust in God becomes essential. But how do we develop that trust when everything seems uncertain? Trust is not something that appears suddenly. It is built, day by day, based on our relationship with God. When life places us in challenging situations, such as a lost job, an unexpected illness, or even an unfulfilled dream, the tendency is to focus on the problem. But the Bible teaches us that we should look beyond the difficulty and focus on God, who is the source of our trust. The psalmist, in Psalm 37 verse 5, gives us a powerful hint. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. This shows us that trusting in God is an act of surrender. When we surrender to His will, even when we don't understand, He acts. This doesn't mean we won't have difficulties, but that by trusting, God will guide us, even when the path is unclear. Building trust starts with small daily actions. One of them is practicing constant prayer. When you pray, you're strengthening your relationship with God and reminding yourself that He is in control. Sometimes, uncertainty stops us from praying, but it's exactly at this moment that prayer becomes even more crucial. Through prayer, you begin to align your thoughts with God's will, asking for His guidance and trust. Another important step is to meditate on God's promises. In times of uncertainty, it's easy to forget the promises He made to us. Remember that God promises to be with us at all times, as He said in Isaiah 41 verse 10, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." Reminding ourselves of these words strengthens our faith and gives us confidence that, even when we don't see it, He is there, holding our hands. And finally, as you begin to take steps of faith, even small ones, you'll be allowing trust in God to grow inside you. Every small victory, every answered prayer, and even every difficulty overcome becomes a stepping stone in building that trust. Remember, the path may be unclear, but God is not. He is faithful and will guide us, even when we don't see what lies ahead. If you're ready to build this trust and walk by faith, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more content that will transform your spiritual and personal life. God has great plans for you, and together, we'll learn to trust Him even more. 5. Accepting the unknown, the path of Abraham. In our journey of faith, one of the hardest lessons to learn is to accept the unknown. When we don't know where we're headed, fear and doubt can paralyze us. But how can we learn to trust God when the path ahead is covered in fog? The answer lies in one of the most powerful stories in the Bible, the path of Abraham. Abraham was called by God to leave his land, his family, and everything he knew to follow an unknown path, without knowing exactly what awaited him. In Genesis 12 verse 1, God said to Abraham, "Go from your country, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you." Notice that God didn't tell Abraham where he was going. There was no map, no explanation. There was only the promise that God would guide him. Accepting the unknown is not easy. Abraham didn't know where he was going or what he would encounter along the way. But he trusted. He trusted the God who called him and took the first step, and then another, even without seeing the way ahead. Abraham's faith wasn't based on seeing the future, but on trusting in God's promise. And as he obeyed, God began to reveal more of His plan. The same invitation is made to us today. Often, God asks us to take a step of faith without showing us the whole path. He calls us to trust Him, even when the road seems full of uncertainties. Accepting the unknown is, in fact, an act of obedience and faith. It's not about knowing everything, but about trusting the one who knows everything. You might be wondering, how can I trust when I don't know what's ahead? The answer is, with steps of faith. The secret is not having all the answers, but being obedient to God's call and taking the first step, trusting that He will illuminate the next step. Abraham's journey teaches us that God never leaves us stranded, even when we can't see the next step ahead. The journey of faith is like this. Often the path will not be clear, but God will be with us, guiding us, just as He guided Abraham. We don't need to see the whole map, we just need to trust God and follow His guidance. Are you ready to trust God's plan and take that first step of faith? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more content that will strengthen your faith journey. Together, let's trust God, even in the unknown. 6. The path of hope, finding the light in the midst of shadows. When life's shadows surround us, it's easy to feel lost, without direction, as if the darkness is all that exists. Moments of pain, despair, and uncertainty can make us question, where is God in all of this? But even in the darkest circumstances, there's something fundamental we can learn. Hope in God never disappears. The Bible teaches us that even when we are immersed in shadows, God is our light. Psalm 34 verse 18 says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." This means that even in the most difficult moments, when we feel fragile and vulnerable, God is closer to us than ever. He does not abandon us but draws near to our broken hearts. When we're walking through a dark valley, our natural tendency is to focus on the pain, the fear, and the uncertainty. But it's precisely here that God's light becomes more visible. When the shadows seem to engulf us, He invites us to look to Him, to trust in His presence, and to find hope even in adversity. It's like, in the midst of the storm, God is telling us, "I am here. Even if you don't understand it now, I am working." In John 8 verse 12, Jesus says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." This is a powerful promise. No matter how dark the road may seem, when we choose to follow Christ, He leads us out of the darkness. He is the light that illuminates our path, our hope, our trust. Now, maybe you're thinking, but how can I find this light when everything around me seems so dark? The answer lies in keeping our eyes fixed on God and His promises. Constant prayer, meditating on His Word, and sincerely seeking His direction are ways to allow His light to shine into our lives, even in the darkest hours. Remember, shadows are not permanent. They pass and God's light shines brighter. In every moment of difficulty, He invites us to trust and look to Him, our true source of hope. The path of hope is not a path without struggles, but it is a path where God's light guides us, even when we can't see the end of the road. 7. The promise of a future full of hope. Sometimes, when we're in the middle of the struggle, it's hard to see beyond the pain and daily fight. The future seems distant, and hope becomes a scarce resource. Life, with its challenges and uncertainties, can make us question, is there something better coming? Does God have something prepared for me, even after all I've been through? Yet, the Bible gives us a powerful promise that invites us to look to the future with confidence, not based on our current circumstances, but on God's promises. In Jeremiah 29 verse 11, we find a verse that brings us deep reassurance. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This verse is a reminder that no matter how confusing or difficult the present may seem, God has a plan of peace and hope for our future. He sees us not just in the present moment, but in the entirety of our lives, and His desire is to lead us to something better, something full of purpose and joy. The future is not a random sequence of events. For Christians, it is carefully planned by God. And even though we can't see all the parts of this plan now, we can trust that He is working on our behalf. This verse tells us that God's thoughts toward us are good, even when we don't understand why difficulties or silence are part of the journey. What we need to do is trust, follow, and believe that, even in the unknown, He is guiding our steps. It's important to understand that Christian hope is not a vague or illusory hope, but one grounded in God's faithfulness. The future He has promised is not a fantasy, but a reality that, although we haven't seen it yet, we can wait for in faith. In Romans 8 verse 28, the Bible reminds us that all things work together for the good of those who love God. Even the challenges we face have a divine purpose, which leads us to a future full of hope. So, how can we apply this promise to our lives? The first thing is to rest in the assurance that God has a future of peace for us. This gives us security to move forward, even without seeing all the details. We can trust that, as we make decisions based on faith, each step we take is a step toward fulfilling God's plan. Trusting in His promise gives us strength to keep going, even when the road seems long and hard. Are you ready to believe that God has a future full of hope reserved for you? And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. See you next time.